going to go into a deep dive today all about allergies, asthmas, and toxins.
Here we go.
We're going to talk about how can you allergy proof your home or decrease your allergen load. Okay, so let's talk about it. Number one, choose hardwood floors.
Okay.
Choose
Okay. Because what's carpet? Does it trap all that stuff?
Oh my gosh. I don't know how many of you guys have one of those Dyson vacuum cleaners, but more and more, by the way, we have vacuum cleaners that have HEPA filters in there. But I have one of those Dyson carpet cleaners, and you can actually see just from carpeting one room, like visually see how much dust and allergen it picks up. And
Oh,
I am shocked. Like, our bedroom is carpeted, and you just, literally sweeping through the bedroom, that container is about half full. And I'm like, I can't believe how much. But think about what carpet is. Think about what carpet is. Carpet really is fabric with all these fringes, like literally sponges at the end. And it's like trapping dirt, allergens,
oh
toxins, hair,
gosh,
dust.
all of it. And then, yeah, and you think about little kids, right? They're rolling around in this stuff.
Well, and here's the interesting thing about the height of the child. In my practice, I've measured the amount of toxin load. And interestingly, I've tested multiple kids in a family. And depending on the height of the child and how far they are from the ground, certain toxins and how much it shows up in their blood is different.
Wow. So the lower you are, the higher the toxin.
Yes. The lower to the ground you are, the higher the toxin load. And the more people, like kids that are like mouthing things, the higher the
Yeah.
toxin load. And I've worked with parents who've dealt with lead exposures, or other toxins exposures. And they're like, no. And then what happens is the toddler on the ground is like the canary in the coal mines, and the toddler has the highest load, and everybody else has less and less depending on how tall they are.
Uh-oh, this doesn't bode well for us, Maggie. We're not very tall women. I'm only 5'1". My husband's 6'3". No wonder he doesn't get sick as much as I do. We're lower to the ground.
Hi, I'm Maggie Yu, MD, and I'm a functional and holistic medicine physician and the creator of the Transform and Transform Protocol. If you're interested in learning what are the root causes of all chronic disease, go ahead and click the link in the description where I have a power pack 30-minute training that goes over what are the 5 pillars of Transform. Go ahead, click the link, and I'll see you in that training. The second thing is that if you do have carpet, you want to vacuum with a HEPA filtered grade vacuum cleaner at least twice a week.
Okay, that's not something I really ever have given much thought to, of having this HEPA grade vacuum filter. Me and this user, we both use the Roomba, and I have no idea if that has a HEPA. So probably a good idea if you are experiencing a lot of these problems to invest in something that does have this HEPA grade filter.
Well, and even if, let's say, you do the Roomba and you're like, let's say it isn't HEPA filter, you can go in once or twice a week, even if you have a Roomba with a HEPA filter vacuum, to do that once a week, twice a week. I recommend twice a week with a HEPA filter vacuum cleaner. And that's, just the vacuum. And if you have hardwood, you don't want to, I think sweeping is fine, but many people don't even sweep. If you can sweep once a week, and I think we should hard mop once a week. I really think using water to actually pick up all the allergens with a hard mop once a week, I think is a really great idea, even with hardwood. That's really important, right? And then let's talk animals, brushing your animals. How many of us have cats? How many of us have dogs? And we think brushing is for them. Brushing is actually to get all that hair on a brush and not all over your floors and throughout your entire home.
Right. Makes sense.
So really invest in a good brush. On the dog, I swear there's a coral brush from Chris Christensen, best brush ever. And it's really a great brush to brush your animals with. And it picks up so much hair. So really important. I think we should be brushing our animals at least twice a week to grease allergen load. Jennifer says, I have hardwood and the cats that shed, but I have to keep the core cleans or allergies will flare. Direct correlation, cause and effect, right? I'm not making this stuff up.
She's seeing it. Yeah, she's seeing it happen. Okay. Question for you. When you're talking about HEPA filters, I recently invested on Amazon Prime Day in those air purifiers that you put in the house. And I recently just noticed, because I've had it running now for maybe 6 weeks or so, I noticed that it is attracting dust around it. So do you recommend, but it must be, getting it in. And I'm thinking, okay, it is trying to purify my air if it's getting all this dust around it. Do you recommend having those as part of this discussion as well? Getting those?
Yeah, it's interesting, because I do actually, and I have used them. So here's something interesting, and this is about the whole concept around purifying a room, let's say. So I want you to think about like your whole house versus a room. So I want to give you guys a concept here around pollen. So we're talking about seasonal allergies. When do you guys think? When in the day do you guys think there's a highest pollen count? Just think it through. When do you guys think pollen count is actually the highest? Interesting. When do flowers open and when do they close? Okay.
Mornings. So mornings.
They open at night and they start closing in the morning in reaction to sun and protection. Thinking about this.
Okay.
So at pollen count is highest at night, early morning, middle of the night, you start having really high pollen count actually starting already, right? This is minus other conditions like wind or other things, but the pollen count tends to be higher in that time. And as it gets hot and the sun is out, you actually see plants closing up in protection. So you'll actually see later on less of a pollen count. So I think about bedrooms a lot, because that's where we sleep. That's when the pollen count is highest. So number one is what you want to do is think about it is how do I decrease the pollen count while I'm sleeping when the pollen count is the highest? Number one, make sure the windows are closed
Gotta have it closed.
when you're sleeping. Number two, which is what you brought up, is what about these allergy filters? I do
Yeah.
think it's actually a good idea.
Okay.
If somebody really does have a lot of allergies, or let's say there's a member of your household that's allergic to cats, but you have to have a cat in the home. Does it make sense to put one of these room filters in their room to decrease the allergen load in their room? Yeah. And that's the important thing is I think of these as a specific limited space allergen decreaser in a limited finite space. It doesn't work as well if you're trying to put one and you have this giant house in a giant room. It's really not going to be that effective. But if you have one confined space, putting it on in that space can significantly decrease the allergen load in the airborne allergies in that area of the house. So space allergen purifiers does have, I think, a good function. And I would look for one that where you can put in HEPA filters and you change the filter. But this doesn't make you avoid, like, I don't know why, but like if you have a central air conditioning or a heating system, I think it's really important to spend, $10 more per filter, get the HEPA filter.
Thank you for answering that. Great advice. I know a lot of people are going to be helped by that. Now, when you were mentioning the pollen being higher, at certain parts of the day, and then I'm thinking about it, we're out in the world, we don't stay home all the time.
Mhm.
So we're walking around. When we come home, we are probably bringing some of these allergens into the house with us. So what kinds of things can we do to mitigate that as we are wanting to maybe clean ourselves off, take our shoes off?
I love this because you're starting to think about you and your body as a carrier of allergens and pollen.
I mean, it just makes sense, right? Because I'm thinking it's probably like in your hair. Yes.
Right? So
It could
one
be
of
in our
the
pet's hair.
most like if anybody in your family have allergies and asthma right now, the first thing they do when they come in the house is take a shower.
Okay. Get it off. Shower.
Dilution, whether it's in your body or on top through your body, is going to lower the histamine load huge, right? So as soon as you come in, like go and take a shower right away, get those clothes, into a hamper. That is really critical. And if you don't do that, the other thing that you should do is shower before bed.
Yeah, okay.
Because the bed, believe it or not, we're going to move into the bed. Bedding and the bed is one of the most worst place for allergy exposure for a lot of people, whether it's mold, whether it's pollen, or whether it's environmental pollens. Okay.
Dust.
And cat hair, all the stuff. Animals will sleep on the bed. There's also dust mites. A lot of times it's not even the dust. It's dust mites that actually live in the mattresses and they eat your skin and you're allergic to their poop.
Lovely. Oh, it sounds so delicious and sexy and all of the things.
Well, then how do we clean our beds? Get a allergenic cover protector around your mattresses so your skin doesn't fall into the mattress to feed bed bugs or dust mites, any of those, right? So the most important thing that you can do for the health of you and your family is actually, go on Amazon, find a good quality mattress cover that is for allergy that filters it all, but basically prevents the penetration of that in there. So protect your mattresses from all these allergens going in their first place.
Such good practical tips that you're giving us. I love it. This will be very helpful. Now,
Yeah.
what about if you have other kinds of exposure in your home? Things like I'm sure mold can trigger allergies.
Yeah, definitely. And we're going into fall. What happens is certain states. How many guys live in a state where there's a high mold? Type in chat. Tell me what state that is for you. Here in Oregon and in Washington, and you're looking at Canada, we have a lot of Canadian watchers. In the British Columbia, moisture, a constant rain around that fall time, where it's not frozen yet, is ripe ground for mold. And a lot of people also live in country or they have barns or farms, hay. Certain things really attract a lot of mold. So mold exposure is really huge. And Athena's living in California, right? California has a lot of mold. And part of it too is even though it's a lot of people think of California desert, the winds really, Santa Ana's and some of these winds really bring in these allergens and mold from other areas and circulate it huge. Along with the dust. So really importantly, I think thinking about mold is the moisture in your home. I think it's a really good idea to take a look. Does your home have a crawl space? What is the drainage situation on your property and in your home? Is there good drainage? Checking the crawl space in some of the wettest time, you can actually see, is there stagnant water?
Mm.
And homes here are built with a vapor barrier, and the vapor barrier is a plastic cover that covers below. But the thing is, you got to go down there and make sure that you have an effective vapor barrier. If you live in an area where there's a vapor area, you want to make sure that it's actually effective. Go in and check there at the wettest time in winter and see, is it actually effectively keeping all the moisture below it, or is there actually water on top of it? You got big problems if it is, right? And somebody mentioned you can actually smell in the air sometimes the mold. If you want to know what mold smells like, going into a barn
Oh boy.
in fall, you can smell what the mold smells like. So there is an odor to it as well. So sometimes people can tell by that. So I think making sure, looking at the amount of moisture under your house. And then some people have homes where it's a basement in the ground. And so if you have a basement that's in-ground basement, the likelihood there's moisture in the walls is something to think about, right? So thinking about that, is there a lot of mold in that area? Also, if you have leaky roofs, like what's the integrity of your roof? How much is there water that's going down the side of your house that you're not aware of? These are inspections that I think a responsible homeowner and parent or person with health issues should really take a look at. You should do an inspection around your home when it's raining. The next giant rain that you have, take a look around your home, take a look at the basement, look if you can have a crawl space, go underneath it.
We had a leak in our attic. I mean, our water, I guess it's a tankless water heater. I don't really understand it, but somehow it still has a tank or something associated with it. And the piping and whatever happened with it, I don't know if it was the condensation, but boy, was there a puddle up there. And yeah, we had to mitigate that because just as you're talking about, you have to go and inspect these things. We didn't know. We said, what is that on the ceiling? What's going on?
Yeah. Diane said she had mold in the drywall, right? And
and you can get mold-proof drywall, she said, which sounds
mold-proof drywall. So these are some things to really think about.
Garbellian saying mold actually was a trigger for the mast cell.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
So we work a lot in our programs with food mapping, and a lot of people think, and it's true, food accurate identification of which foods is triggering the mast cell histamine or your food related reactions is really important. But I think equally important, we need to start thinking about what is coming in airborne, what's in our environment, and what's seasonal. Hi, and thank you for watching this video. If you're interested in actively looking for a solution to your problem and you'd like to work with us, I'm going to invite you to go ahead and click the link in the description to book a chat with our team. What that's going to do is it's going to bring you to a calendar, pick a time that's going to suit your needs best. It's going to be about a 15-minute phone call. After you book that call, there's going to be a link to a short questionnaire, and that's really important for you to fill out because it's for us to get to know you better and helps us to better prepare to make the most of our time together. After you fill out the short application, it's going to take you to a page where there's a couple resources. What I want you to do is go ahead and click 2 of those and watch those 2 trainings. They're going to really best prepare you for your phone call with us to make the best use of our time together. I and my team look forward to talking to you to learn more about you, to see if we are indeed a good fit to work together. Thank you.